All right, please begin filling out this sheet by putting your name and your class period to make sure that you do not lose this sheet. This is part of your quarter two tools. Okay, we're going to begin by labeling the first legal move that we're going to talk about as legal move number 1. And legal move number 1 that we've been working with says that I can remove one shaded triangle from each side of the scale. That was the very first strategy you learned to help you solve. You can remove one triangle from each side of the scale. If you have 2 on each side, you can remove 2 on each side. Make sure you've got those words recorded. And then move over. We are going to create an example that represents what this looks like in real life. So when I think about this move, I'm going to record a problem. 4x plus 2 equals 3x plus 9. Okay, and my first job is going to be that I'm going to translate this. Okay, so I'm going to make my scale just a different color since there's so much black and white here. And I'm going to zoom in even a little bit more. And start translating. If I look at each piece of my equation, that's how I want to translate. So this first piece right here, 4x, means I'm actually going to make 4 triangles. I've got 4 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't write any plus signs. And then a plain positive 2 is just in a number cube. What you will learn eventually, once we get to that point, is that those are going to be green. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them in green. If you have a green pen, you can do that. What we have on the other side is 3 x's, right? 3x right next to each other means 3 triangles. And we've got a plus, we don't write any pluses, and a regular positive 9. So again, when we start getting into some color coding, you'll see that 9s are positive. So we've got 4x plus 2 equals 3x plus 9 with our triangles. What we were practicing the other day, or what we have been practicing, I should say, is now what we can do with this information. So now that we've got everything laid out, we can start using our strategy. If we have one triangle on the left and one triangle on the right, we can cross those off. Those are the same weight, and by taking one off the right and one off the left, we do not disturb the balance of our scale. I've got 2 from each side in common, and actually, in this particular problem, I have 3 triangles on each side that I can take off. Now I'm going to rewrite what I've got left, because right now it's getting a little bit sloppy. And when I look at what I've got left over that is not crossed off, I've got a triangle and a 2 over here. And on the right side, I've got a 9. I need to problem solve and figure out what number plus 2 equals 9. In this case, my triangle is going to be 7. Now, I know that I should go back and check, but because we're not talking about checking right now, we're just talking about the strategy, I think we've demonstrated pretty well here, and we will not forget what happens when we decide we're going to take one triangle off each side of the equation. Now you've got one more strategy. We can go a little bit more quickly with this one. You've got to go ahead and write in strategy number 2. Strategy number 2 says that I can take the same number from each side of the scale. Okay. Take a moment to make sure you've got those words recorded. And then we're going to move over and we're going to record an example that represents what this looks like. The example that we've got for this one is 2x plus 2 equals 8 plus x. So at this point, we're actually probably going to be using strategy number 1 and strategy number 2, but that's okay. As we get further into our examples, that's going to happen. I'm going to translate this bit by bit. I've got two x's, 2 next to an x, which means I'll make 2 triangles. And I've got a positive 2. We don't write our plus signs, but we have a plain, regular positive 2. Again, in the future, you'll see that those are green. On the right side, we start off with a regular positive 8. There's no negative here, so this is a positive 8. So I will put that inside of a rectangle. And then we have plus a solo x, a singular x, or a triangle. So yesterday, a lot of people were saying that they preferred when they were starting to take things away, that they wanted to take away the triangles first. They wanted to take away the x's first. So when I'm looking at this, I notice that I've got one triangle on the right and one triangle on the left that I'm allowed to take away. So I'm going to do that. Even though that has to do with legal move number 1, it's still something that we do when we solve these problems. And then next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the numbers. Now, what we learned in class is that if we have 2 on the left and we have at least 2, that means 2 or more on the right, we're allowed to take away 2 from this side and 2 from this side. We're going to have some remaining on this side, and that's what we have to show with our work. So I am going to take away 2 on the left, and I'm going to take away 2 on the right. But before I move on, I have to remember, if I'm going to take away 2 from 8, I am left with 6. So now I've crossed off almost everything. When I do my rewrite, on this side of the scale, I only have one x left, so I'll record that. And on the right side, I only have a 6 left, so I'll record that. This one was quite easy because now we can see right away our triangle is equal to 6. When I go back to my notes, what I want to point out to myself is that what I have done here in red is the example of legal move number 2. So I'm going to go over here and I am going to either circle or underline or somehow show myself, maybe you can highlight if you've got highlighters at your table, that when I take away the same number, that's what we're talking about in legal move number 2, and that is represented here, underlined in red, because here, this work of taking away the same number from each side is done in red. That's like a note-taking skill where you're making a connection. Now that you've taken these notes and you've got this part, go ahead and continue with the next part of your lesson.